is your why big enough? Because when you have a big enough why, you can get through just about any how. What's going on, Doc? This is Dr. Schilling with today's Daily Insights. And today we're excited about bringing you some insights from basically a purpose in life. Like, I was sitting through, just to give you some context, I was sitting through my son getting blood draw today. And ultimately, it was a horrendous experience because you got a 2-year-old who's crying, who's struggling, and who's thrashing around, and they're trying to hold his arm, and I'm pinning his head and hold his body against me. And meanwhile, I'm thinking to myself, okay, there's a reason we're doing this. There's a reason we're doing this. My why was because I needed to get some blood work done on him to get some definitive understanding of what his food sensitivities are. So my why was like, I'm willing to go through this short-term discomfort for him and for me in order to get to the how, or to get to the end result. So the how I got through it was, I kind of, grinned and bared it, and I said, okay, we just got to suck it up. So the question is, when you find yourself stuck or not following through with something, are you clear about your why? Are you clear about why you're doing something? Are you clear about the purpose in mind? Because when you're clear about that why, you can go through just about any how. So I know for me, there's been many things in my life where I've had to figure out, like going through chiropractic medical school and saying, okay, my why is because I want to be a doctor at the end of this, and I want to help people live their best lives. The how was about as horrendous as what happened today, only it lasted over 4 years. So the challenge is, like, what's your duration of your why, and how long can you sustain that? Because, I think people in, prisoners of war over in Vietnam and other countries, when they were captured and they were tortured, they had to have a pretty darn big why in order to get through that. Otherwise, they were going to collapse. They were going to fail. They were going to fall into the trap of giving misinformation or, taking the mea culpa, which is like, yes, there's information here. You can attack our ships here, blah, 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 so on and so forth. So they had to have a pretty dang big why as why they were going to sustain that and persevere through that, because they knew that as long as they made it to the next day, that was their key. Like, I'm making it to the next day. And maybe sometimes for you, that your why has to be just big enough to get you through the next day or the next hour or the next minute, whatever it is. So when you can define your why, like, why am I doing this? Why am I going through this pain or suffering? Or why am I going through this struggle? Or why am I going through X, Y, or Z? When your why is strong enough, you can get through anything, because the how is not as big as an issue once you have your why. So that's your daily insight for today. And I just want to give you some inspiration there to understand, like, what you're going through right now might not be the easiest thing, might feel like it's just brutal. But determine your why, define your why are you doing it? What are you going to get out of it at the end? How are you delaying gratification, if you heard our segment from yesterday? And then just stick to it and hold tight. Just stay the course, because once you define that why, like, I imagine, like, someone said, if someone said you had to give them $50,000 and you said, well, I can't do that. And then they said, well, I have a gun to your child's head. And you're like, I'll get back to you in an hour, because you're going to do it. Like, you're going to find a way. You're going to go on television news. You're going to call your friends and neighbors and whoever else and, GoFundMe, whatever you can do in that amount of time in order to get that funds. Because if someone's threatening that precious life that that's yours, and or somebody you care for, you're going to find a way to do it. So define your why. It'll take you through almost any how, and then you can reap the benefits. So sow the seeds, reap the benefits later, and get clear on your why, and you can do anyhow. All right, guys. Hope you have a great night. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.